Maybe you just got promoted. Maybe you've been in your role for a year and you still have no clue how to get your team to hit goals. Maybe you want to become a manager, but you don't know where to start. Here's the harsh truth: most people are promoted without ever being taught how to lead. And suddenly you're responsible for revenue, quotas, utilization, output, forecasts, but no one ever showed you how to move those numbers through other people. Managing yourself is one skill, leading a team is completely different. Improving leadership skills at work isn't about confidence, it's about understanding how performance actually flows through a team, why it doesn't magically follow a path that you took as an individual contributor. Here's where new or struggling leaders hit the wall. When you managed yourself, life was simple. You adjusted, you tightened your system, you worked longer, focused harder, fixed your own mistakes. Your output was directly tied to your effort, linear, predictable, and logical. Now you've got a team, and suddenly your effort doesn't equal output anymore. You can't just decide everyone's going to be focused today. You can't turn motivation up like a dial. You can't personally push every project across the finish line. You're not controlling performance anymore, you're influencing it. And here's the part that kills people quietly: no one ever shows you how to do that. So, what do most new managers do? They overtalk and overexplain because they're trying to make sure that everyone gets it. They turn to control and trying to manage every little thing to the point that they become overbearing. They go quiet and assume people will figure it out, or they do the work themselves because it feels faster and safer. And while that works for a little while, it eventually doesn't. The team doesn't perform like you do. Output isn't consistent. You can't carry everything yourself and keep the numbers afloat. And then you sit there thinking, why is this so much harder than it should be? It's not because you're incapable, it's because leading people runs on a completely different operating system than leading yourself. Most organizations promote people without ever installing this. This isn't a character flaw, it's a skills gap. But if you don't close it, every missed KPI, every delayed project, every dip in productivity ends up on your desk. That's the cost of leadership confusion. I worked with managers at all level, people just stepping into leadership, experienced leaders still guessing, and high performers suddenly promoted into roles they weren't trained for. And here's what I've seen over and over: smart, capable people get promoted and slowly dismantle a team without ever realizing it. Not because they're bad people, not because they don't care, but because no one ever taught them how to lead. They assumed their own work style, how they hit quotas, delivered output, stayed focused, would naturally transfer to their team. So they overcorrected, they micromanaged, they disappeared, they did the work themselves to protect the numbers. The result? Team suffered, engagement dropped, turnover rose, KPIs slid quarter after quarter, and the manager, they didn't understand why. They thought they were working harder than ever. But here's the truth: leadership isn't about how hard you work, it's about whether your team can consistently hit targets without you carrying them. I've seen good employees and managers burn out. I've seen strong teams fractured. I've seen revenue stall, all because the mechanics of leading people weren't taught. And that's avoidable. Leadership isn't mysterious, it's learned, it's intentional, it's measurable. These leadership gaps don't happen in isolation. How you onboard, how you coach, and how you manage performance all feed each other. Miss one and your team results suffer. The goal isn't just to survive as a manager, it's to drive measurable impact. And that starts with understanding what your leadership actually looks like on the ground, not what it feels like in your head. I've worked with managers who thought they were doing everything right, only to realize small adjustments in coaching, accountability, and clarity transformed the results across their entire team. There's a method to this. You don't have to guess, you just need someone who's seen it work and what it looks like when it doesn't. Here's the deeper problem. Most new leaders mean well. They work hard, they try to help, they show up. But here's the truth: leadership isn't about what you do, it's about what your team does. If you don't set clear expectations, coach consistently, and hold people accountable to measurable outcomes, your team will quietly underperform. Revenue slips, forecasts miss, projects drag. And the reality, that's on leadership, not because anyone's lazy, not because anyone's failing, but because no one installed the system to make performance happen reliably. Here's how to stop guessing and start leading effectively. Number one, drive success clearly. It sounds obvious, but most managers skip this step. You have KPIs, quotas, deadlines, revenue targets, but your team doesn't know what done looks like day to day. Without clarity, effort is wasted. People guess, projects drag, forecasts start missing. Teams produce inconsistent output, quotas aren't hit, revenue and utilization fluctuate. Managers think the team isn't trying when in reality they're just misaligned. Most managers think if their team is hitting active KPIs, calls, emails, meetings, then performance is fine. But here's the problem: activity doesn't equal results. Number two, then, is coach intentionally and consistently. Coaching is not giving a pep talk once a month, it's structured, measurable, and tied to outcomes. Teams can't improve what they don't see. Without consistent coaching, gaps compound silently. Missed quotas, delayed projects, underutilized talent. High performers quietly burn out, and weaker performers get comfortable without feedback. Number three, then, delegate with clarity. Delegation is more than assigning tasks, it's about making the outcome, standard, and timeline explicit and then following up. Without clarity, managers default to doing the work themselves, which kills scalability. Teams rely on the manager to carry the load. Utilization drops, projects miss deadlines. Managers, they burn out. If you're trying to figure this out, whether you're a first time manager, an aspiring leader, or someone who's been confused in their role, reach out. My email is in the address down below. Tell me what's going on and I'll help you get unstuck. We'll focus on where your leadership is breaking down and what fixes actually drive measurable results. Is your team hitting its potential, or are you just hoping that they will figure it out? Ask yourself, are your expectations clear? Is your coaching consistent? Are you translating leadership into measurable results, or hoping your team just figures it out? Drop a comment on one area where you struggle as a leader. Like the video if it resonates. Subscribe to learn how onboarding, leadership, and performance all tie together. And share with someone who's struggling with management. Because before training, tools, systems, you need to understand how leadership is really functioning today.